glad I've got two of my favorite people in the world here today. Well, besides my wife, let me start with that, and my kids.
Clarify.
Top 10. Top 10. So what I'd like to do is I've got a couple of my K-9 guys in here. They mean the world to me, and I feel like both of them have such great stories to tell that I just wanted to bring them in here and just like have a chance to kind of talk about what they experienced in K-9 and continue to experience. I also brought one of my explosive dogs. This is K-9 Biggie, and she's an explosive detection dog. And I'm already boring her because she's yawning. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'll kick it off. I'll kick it over to Reggie. Kind of tell us. Oh, I didn't even introduce you. This is Reggie and Lewelllyn. Bryant Lewelllyn. But he's always Lewelllyn to me, and that's Reggie to me. So anyway, I'm going to just like dive straight into it. Reggie, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and everything, and how you ended up in this chair that you find yourself in today.
A little bit about myself. Like you said already, my name's Reggie. I'm from originally the New York, New Jersey area. I spent most of my childhood up there. My mom and dad, originally from Haiti, they came down here, moved to New York, got married, stuff like that.
Down here or up here?
Up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Haiti. Yeah,
I was going to say,
North.
I didn't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Canada and the annex to Haiti.
Yeah, they came by plane, not by boat.
Okay.
So, and legally.
Gotta add that part.
Yeah.
Got you.
All right.
So, they got married. I am now the oldest. I did have an older brother, but he passed when I was a small child. But I'm the oldest now. I've got a sister and another brother, both younger than me, obviously, if I'm the oldest. I came to the Lynchburg area because I tried to go to college. I made a solid attempt and I failed. So I signed up for the Marine Corps Reserves.
Okay.
Did the Marine Corps Reserves for 8 years, one tour to Afghanistan, somewhere in there. And then after that, I started my journey in law enforcement. I started at a detention center. Then I went to the academy and started as a police officer. So that's me in a nutshell.
While we're on your career, tell us about your K-9 stuff. How did you end up in K-9, of all things, K-9?
Your whole law enforcement career, you watch, you take interest in something that you enjoy, and I enjoy dogs, and I enjoyed watching, police officers work their dogs. I thought it was interesting, entertaining, and it was definitely something from the beginning in my law enforcement career I definitely saw myself getting into. So I started out as a bite pillow in my K-9 career. Put a suit on.
To be the pillow, though.
No. And I was the agency's chew toy.
Okay.
Then I got my, an opening came open. I got a shot at putting in for it. Then I started my career in K-9.
All right, we'll circle back to the K-9 thing. I think it's really cool. Reggie's being modest. He's probably one of the best decoys I've seen for a while. And he's really being modest, saying a pillow, but he moves around and does a great job. So, Lew, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here.
Yeah, so my name is Bryant Lewelllyn. I was born in Greensboro, North Carolina. Grew up on a cattle ranch in North Carolina.
Is that why you're so big?
Yes.
Okay.
Cow manure and Angus beef.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
So if I learned how to do anything as a child, I guess it was I learned how to work.
Okay.
And so that kind of carried me through my life. Came up this way, decided I was going to go to college like Reggie did. Ended up going to college. Wanted to play sports and play football in college. So decided to come to Liberty and came up this way and did that whole bit. And then, kind of law enforcement was always, kind of a calling to me, something I always wanted to do to serve in that way, in that capacity. And so after I got done with the whole college football, coaching, all that kind of stuff, I was like, now's the time. So decided to make the move to law enforcement and come into it, and ended up getting to come work for you and handle a dog and do all the great things.
The great things?
The great things.
And then there was one, right?
And then there was one.
That's right. All right. So, Reggie, I know you talked about your military career in the Marine Corps. Just talk about that a little bit. Talk about your deployment kind of where you went and what that experience was from you coming from New Jersey area to where, Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Okay.
My military career was something like I just abruptly decided to sign up for. It wasn't something that I always longed to do. It was kind of like I'm in college and I'm not making it, so uh, I should probably join the military, maybe to try to get some sort of experience for to put on my resume to make me more appealing in the world of trying to find a job. So I signed up for the Marine Corps Reserves. I didn't necessarily want to be a Marine. I literally went down to the little recruiting station,
Right.
and it was about 12 o'clock. I tried the Navy's door. It was locked. They were out to lunch.
Yes. Okay.
Then I skipped over the Marine Corps door, went to the Army door. It was locked. They were also out to lunch. And I went to the Marine Corps door, and it opened, and somebody was in there. And I pretty much told them that I wanted to join the military. My intent when I signed up was for the reserves was to try to continue my education in school, but that didn't happen, especially once I deployed to Afghanistan. About halfway through the 8-year contract I signed. But yeah, I went to Afghanistan, Helmand Province. I was a combat engineer. I was attached to a battalion of Marines out of Hawaii.
So tell us real quick, for people that don't know, an engineer sounds like you were building buildings and stuff.
No,
that's not what you did, was it?
No, it's more of like explosives, finding explosives, building explosives. It's really a jack of all trades, right? You go to combat engineer school and they teach you a little bit of everything.
Right.
They teach you how to build stuff, how to build bridges, how to use tools, how to use chainsaws. But primarily our deployment was locating IEDs and calling EOD out, putting those IEDs out. So
just a question, and I know we've never talked about this. Did you ever see
I did.
explosive
I
dogs
did.
deployed?
I did see the grunt battalion that I was attached to, the infantry battalion I was attached to, did have an explosive. It was a black lab. I couldn't remember what his name is, but yes, I did experience that later on in my deployment. Initially in the beginning of my deployment, it was just they gave us a minesweeping stick and we went out there and kind of just
poked around.
Yeah, poked around until something beeped, and then we moved back and did it that way.
You didn't hit
It's a good plan.
Right?
Good plan.
But then halfway through, I moved to a different part of Afghanistan, and those group of infantrymen had a K-9 attached to it. So that was cool to see.
How would you describe the area you were in? I mean, I know there's a lot of different things in Afghanistan, but how would you describe it?
The G-rated version of how I would describe it.
Let's go PG-13.
PG-13.
Okay.
There was nothing nice about where I was in Afghanistan.
A lot of green or not very much?
There was some green. They had fields, they had poppy fields, and stuff like that. So, I mean, they did, it was a farming area. They did farm. But as far as obviously roads weren't paved. They were dirt roads, no bathrooms.
So where were most
water.
of the IEDs that y'all located on?
Patrol routes. Yeah. Patrol routes. So we didn't have.
How old were you when you were over there?
21.
That's a pretty big thing. You pretty much had the entire battalion, or what? Did you have a company that you were assigned to, or a whole battalion?
It was a company that I was assigned to, but they broke us up into squad size elements.
So you're responsible for the safety of 20, 30 people at 21 years old. And how long was your training as an engineer?
3 months.
That's a lot. They packed it in. So
yeah, for sure.
Anything that you think when you were over there, anything in particular stood out in your brain after you went over there and came back?
I mean, I had a great time. It was fun. It was, by fun, I mean it in a really crooked kind of way, right? Like nobody really wants to go over to a war, but it was definitely a good experience. I think it definitely played into the person I am today. So it definitely was an eye-opening experience. A war that had no end in sight at the time when I was over there. and kind of just people just rotating, shipping in, shipping out, shipping in, shipping out. And, so I did my stint, and another group of engineers came in, took my place. But overall, it was a good experience.
I think one of the most interesting things I think about when I think about the military is if you look at what we did in Afghanistan and what we did in Iraq, and then you go back to the Wild West, we did the same thing. We had fortified areas, and we always got hit between the forts. And it's the same thing. The only difference now, instead of errors, you have explosions. So.
And, like my experience over there was when you were fortified, you never got hit. It was always when you were not fortified. Was, when the Taliban, if you will, would make attempts at you and the individuals that were out there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they always tried to find the weakest point, and
So Lew, talk about your experience at Liberty. I think one of my favorite stories, and we won't start with that, but talk about your experience in college athletics.
Yeah, so I, like I said, I grew up in small town North Carolina, and so I was the big fish in a small pond. So I was like, yeah, I can go play Division I football.
And we're not talking about the Liberty that I went to, where we're talking about you had some men up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not
even men, like freaks of nature.
Yes.
So I went and decided to walk on at Liberty.
Okay.
Went there in 2008. Got cut from the team one time actually. So I said, well, I got to work out harder. And so I worked out harder, ended up making the team as a freshman. And then I remember the story you're talking about. I played defensive line at Liberty. So I remember.
So what does a defensive lineman at Liberty looks like in 2008?
In 2008, most every D lineman was about 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds, 295 pounds.
And they were really slow, right?
They were running 4.6, 4.7 40s, just freaks of nature, absolute freaks of nature. So I remember getting up there. There was a lineman lined up in front of me. I was on scout team, which is the practice squad guys.
The pillows.
The pillows of college football. Yep, the bite pillows of college football.
Right.
And so this offensive lineman lined up across from me. This dude's 6'5", 320 pounds. One of the biggest humans I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, you know what? I got this. I'm supposed to be here. Put my hand down on the ground. I remember the football was snapped and everybody disappeared. And I was like, I have never seen a 300-pound man move that fast in my entire life.
But you're like, I'm glad he didn't hit me.
Yeah.
But I think I was supposed to do something.
I was supposed to do something, but I don't know what to do with my hands now. So I'm just like,
I didn't have pockets.
I didn't have pockets in my football pants. So I'm just standing there in the middle of the field.
So I think what's really interesting in the interaction with you is just your desire to get better, both of you. But how did college football mold you into the person that always was pushing to get better, never accepting tomorrow's another day to get better?
Yeah.
How did you adopt that?
Yeah, absolutely. That 1% better every day mentality. Well, I learned quickly that, I wasn't the big fish. I'm not very athletic. I'm, just kind of middle of the road. And I learned that if I outwork everybody else, then, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be successful. And that proved true in college football for me. I ended up going from walk on to all conference defensive lineman, led the conference in sacks my senior year, was a team captain, got to do all those cool things. And literally it was just me, I'm going to work harder than everybody else for 4 years. And then, that stuff's going to pay off.
So then you transitioned into coaching and strength and conditioning.
I did.
I don't think people realize how much of a science. We watch the TV. If you watch it on TV, it's like NASCAR.
Yep.
They look like they're moving fast.
Yeah.
When you get down on the field, you're like, these dudes are flying.
Yes.
Talk about the prep work that goes into getting these athletes ready.
Yeah.
And all the information that they have to collect to get the good athlete.
Absolutely. So, so I did the coaching stint. I actually coached defensive line at Liberty for 3 or 4 years. And then I was a strength and conditioning coordinator for the offensive and defensive line at Liberty. And just like you said, the science and the people don't even realize, you watch college football on TV and it's oh, this is fun, game day, but the hours that go into that. I remember, I would put 120 hours in a week, sleep in my office 3 nights a week, just preparing stuff, going out, trying to find kids, preparing programs for kids. You would spend 40 hours writing a program for the team for a week. You'd put just as much time in it as you would. Everything is meticulously calculated. How much they're running every day in practice. Everything's measured by GPS now. Everything is is kept track of, like the statistics on every single athlete.
So no
it's just
guesswork.
no guesswork at all. Everything is down to a science. I know how much you're sleeping, how much you're hydrating, how much running you've done this week, what I need to cut back, what I need to increase. Everything is like percentage driven. I mean, it is literally a science. We had machines that measured the speed of the bar. And so if your bar was moving slower than it was last week, we're going to dial you back. Or if your bar was moving faster than it was last week, and we're just talking about in workouts every day, then we're going to dial you up because we're going to get the absolute most out of this athlete as they can possibly produce.
How does that interpret like during practice? Because one of the things that I took my son to like a lacrosse camp, and he couldn't believe like the precision that everything was, the drills, everything. And you either got it or you didn't get it.
Yep.
They didn't spend any time.
No.
So talk about what happens if you miss a workout and you don't go to the workout. What's going to happen to you?
Yeah, well, that's not really an option. We never had guys that miss workouts because like it just wasn't an option. It was like it's kind of like that. You're jumping on a moving train, and you either jump off, the train's not going to stop for you.
Right.
It's just going to keep moving. And that's how college athletics works. Like that train's always moving. The team's always moving in a better direction. Everybody around you is getting better. So like really the option of missing a workout or missing practice or something like that just wasn't applicable, because like you could go from a starting player and then you miss one practice and all of a sudden you're fourth string. Like you're not seeing the field.
So what kind of data would y'all collect like during practice? Could you measure like how much their effort they're putting off?
Yep.
I mean, you can actually measure effort.
Yeah. So I could actually measure effort in practice, measure G-forces guys were obtaining. We could measure acceleration rates. We could measure how far people were running, how fast they were running, what percentage of their maximum effort that speed that they're running at was. Like it's incredible, and all that stuff is all computerized and given back to us in the form of data.
So you have to actually convert that information into workouts and things.
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. So you take all that information.
It's not just collecting information.
No,
it's analyzing it.
Yep, analyzing it, and then what's the best way moving forward to keep getting this person better.
I brought my window look.
I see that.
That's why they put me in K-9. They couldn't. That way they couldn't tell which one of us was looking the window. Was it me or the dog? So anyway, so Reggie, just talk about. I know both of y'all, and I've seen how you work, and I see all the effort that y'all put into K-9. Talk about what it takes to be a decoy. Like, just talk about that, and talk about like it's not just a job. It really is your passion, and it's something that you believe in. And I think everybody always thinks, just like in snipers, they think the guy that is pulling the trigger is the man. It's not that's not the man. It's your spotter that's giving you a win, your change, and everything else. And if we've got a really good patrol dog that's biting, driving into the bite, and everything that they're supposed to do, they're doing it because they have an excellent decoy that knows how the timing of the dog, rewarding at the right time. Just talk a little bit about that from a K-9.
I'll say that like starting out my K-9 career, I was taught a way to decoy. But the importance of a decoy was never really explained to me until I had the opportunity to go to a seminar, and got to learn from probably one of the greatest decoys, the bite doctor, the science or the skill that goes into it. It's not just about putting a suit on and standing there and waiting until the dog comes at you, and that there was a whole lot more to it than just that. So obviously when I first started, I mean, that's all it really was, right? They put me down,
wiggling around and screaming when they bite you.
Right. You go stand down there 50 yards, I'm going to send the dog. Once he gets close to you, start running, and just tuck your hands in the suit. Don't get bit in the hand. To a school where they taught us about bite dynamics and, the different problems you may have with a patrol dog, how to work those problems, how to make them better, how to make them stronger. So it went from something that was explained to me to be so simple to something that is really not just, you give, the suit to the youngest cow on the K-9 unit and tell him to put it on. And if he doesn't want to, then he's not meant to have a dog.
Right.
So, I mean, a decoy can make or break your patrol dog. I mean, in my opinion, it's definitely super important to have somebody decoy for your dog that knows what he's doing, because if you don't, you can just make bad habits or bad dynamics worse if you don't have somebody that knows what they're doing.
So what's the biggest lesson? It just kind of popped in my head. You know how I am. Talk about our experience that we had in Chattanooga. What's the biggest lesson we learned about a free dog? What is that? Do you remember going to Chattanooga and picking up a dog?
Oh, one thing you have to understand about, Captain Reynolds, always be Captain Reynolds to me, but is that when he gets this idea in his head of something, it's going to be very hard to change his mind. So
impossible.
I say after that he had the idea that we were going to get another dog, but this dog was going to be a dog that if we can find it, it's going to be free, and we're going to train him ourselves, and we're going to do it. And of course, I'm just like, hey, like, let's go, let's do it. So he finds a dog. We get out there to Tennessee, we drive all the way out there, and we see this dog, great big old German Shepherd. I mean, and I think he was personal protection, something like that, some competition dog. So it already knew how to bite. We just had to worry about if we'd be able to put, narcotics work in him and tracking and everything else to make him a patrol dog. So we go out there, we test him out, looks good. Obviously the people that have it are singing his praises, best dog ever. You're not going to have any problems. Like, cool, man. Like, awesome. Like, this is a blessing in disguise. Like, I can't believe this dog that is so great is going for free. Until we stop and on our way back, and we're like, well, we're going to give this dog a little bit of a break and let him use the bathrooms. And, Juette laces up and gets the dog out of the car, and immediately the dog turns around and bites the leash. And so we're sitting in the parking lot of Burger King or some fast food joint, and there's cars everywhere, people standing outside, and Juette's playing tug of war with a German Shepherd, a giant German Shepherd that we have no idea other than just meeting him. I mean, obviously there's no bond or anything. The dog doesn't know us from anybody else, but he's playing tug of war with a leash in the parking lot of this fast food joint. So
we were somewhat limited with the corrections we could make in front of a crowd.
In front of a crowd. We weren't going to try to choke him off a leash or anything like that. So we just let him win that day and put him back up in the car. And
and then he attacked us again once we got to the kennels. We thought, well, we'll just let him run around a little bit, and then he tried to eat all of us.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to get back to you on the thing with Buck when we picked him out.
Okay.
Talk about Odin when we went and picked him out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity when I made K-9, I got to go and pick out a green dog, got to go up and look at.
Tell us what a green dog looks like as opposed to a trained dog.
A green working dog looks like an absolute crackhead. Mm-hmm. They are absolutely crazy. No training. I think when we picked him up, they're like, yeah, he's been on a leash 3 times. So just all over the place. You think about a working dog with all of their drive and everything they want to do with no direction at all. Just absolute squirrel. So that has sharp teeth. And a big mouth, actually. So
yes.
But I got the opportunity to go up and look at a bunch of different dogs and pick out the dog that I thought was going to be the best fit for me and the best fit for what we were trying to do at the time. So it was a really, really cool experience. And like I said, got him green. So had the opportunity to train him in-house. And I think that taught me, it taught me a ton about dogs, taught me a ton about being a handler and all the work that went into it. So I'm thankful for that opportunity to get to train him in-house.
The thing I remember most about Odin is, they threw a toy in that detection exercise, and he took off running, and they're like, I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah. We put him out in the field to do a search drill, and they threw a toy out there, and he just took off, and they're like, well, I don't know if he's going to come back. We saw him up on the next ridge, half a mile away. Like, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that would have been your dog.
Yeah. But he's gone.
Thankfully, he came.
He did.
Back.
He eventually came back.
So, and I don't think people appreciate how big he is. He's a big dog.
Oh yeah, he's massive.
He's a big dog, and as big as you are. I remember when he changed directions one time when you were searching the car and he almost pulled you over.
Yep, about jerked me off my feet. He's a big, strong dog.
So Odin's your dog. Reggie, talk about Buck.
Yeah, I think Lew had a little bit of a better experience picking his dog than I did. But
tell us about why you think that.
Because again, I'll reiterate that when Captain Reynolds has an idea in his head, it's not going to be changed at all. So I very much believe that he went into the selection of with the mindset that I'm going to pick the hardest, fastest crackhead that they have, and I'm going to give him to Reggie, because that is the dog that I got. So we met at some building in Pennsylvania, up at Shallow Creek, and they marched these dogs in here. Of course, I don't know anything about dog selection at this point, but Captain Reynolds does, considering he's been in the game a while at this point.
Call me old, I guess.
Yeah, something
seasoned,
condition,
seasoned,
salty. Yeah,
definitely salty.
So Juette tells him what we're looking for in a dog. We want to maybe be able to use them in the tack setting and stuff like that. And, Jeremy Riley at the time's like, man, we got a couple dogs for you. So they bring in, I think Buck was probably the last dog they bought in, but all the other dogs they're bringing in, they're walking nicely on the leash, and they're coming in real nice, just gingerly walking, and they show us a little search. They hide a ball, have them search the room for the ball. They find it. Jeremy Riley puts the sleeves on. We get to watch the dog bite. Then they bring in the last dog, which is Buck, and this guy's bringing him in, and Buck is literally dragging this dude inside of this building.
I think we heard him coming.
Yeah,
he was choking stuff coming in.
Yeah, and its tongue's hanging down to the ground. Just a 90-pound muscular Malinois beast dragging this guy in here. And I think immediately at that point, Juette was like, "Yeah, this is the dog that we need to get."
Looks like him.
We were looking for.
Yeah, and I think he tried briefly to blame it on the sheriff we had at the time. The sheriff only wanted a Malinois, but I call BS on that. I think that Juette just wanted me to.
How happy are you with your choice, though?
I am very happy. I think the choice that I got made me a pretty decent handler, and I think if I would have ended up with any of the other dogs, I wouldn't have benefited nearly as much.
Well, tell us. We'll roll right into you, unless you're parched and you can't continue to.
No,
you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
So talk about like one of your K-9 operations. Since we picked out the dog, tell us something that everybody told us you definitely can't do this. This dog, I've never seen a dog that could do this. Tell us your first two stories on your deployments that we gave you.
So the first story I'll talk about is, again, Captain Reynolds is at the tip of the spear here. There's this wanted guy on an island on a river that we have, Treasure Island,
right,
or whatever,
in the middle of the James River,
right. So they got drones up, and they obviously see this wanted guy that's on the island, and there's literally no way to get to this island, obviously, but by boat. And Juette comes up to me, and I think I was out of school maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This is a very short time, and looks at me and says, "Have you and your dog ever been on a boat?" And I'm like, "No, we didn't have boat training at K-9 school." And he said, "Well, are you willing to get on this boat and go over there with your dog to get this wanted guy?" I said, "Well, I guess we'll give it a shot." So Game and Inland had a small boat, and Buck and I got on it. He did fabulous. We pull up on shore and run in. Obviously, the guy flings his hands up and gives up, but it ended up being great and a great experience for me. I don't, it's definitely something I can say my dog can do is ride on a boat.
Well, I think the cool thing that you leave out is the fact that the marshals were looking for him. This dude has been breaking into places, and I think he had told people like, I'm not going to be taken alive and all this other stuff, and put a lot of time and effort in. And we took the best team we had and sent them in there, you and Buck, and it ended well. So
Absolutely.
something to be said about planning ahead of time.
Yeah.
So
Then my other one that was a search warrant for another wanted guy in the sticks of Amherst County. And of course, he was inside of his house. And, we walked in it. So what Juette says there's something, being done that they didn't think it could be done was that the operation was we were going to walk in before dark and we were going to sit out there until
he
arrived back and daybreak. And then we would move in on the house. So people question the fact of my dog being able to sit quietly in the woods for 4 or 5 hours and, not give any telling signs that, law enforcement were in the woods at the time. And obviously I questioned it as well. But again, Buck did a phenomenal job. I mean, we sat out there 6 hours in the woods and tree lines, and the dog didn't move, didn't bark, didn't. So, I mean, he was operationally sound for sure. Still is. I've done a few other operations since then. I had to sit in the woods in the tree line very close to the backyard of somebody's house and not give away our position. So, yeah.
So, but I mean, it's not accidental. You pick a dog that you think is going to do the job, and then you spend a lot of time and effort training these dogs. It's not like you just show up and hope for the best.
Right.
Like you spend time with that dog every single day.
Trying to continually train the dog to be operationally sound at all times. I mean, that's literally what we strive to do. And I'll say that this is why that, K-9 is not necessarily a job for everybody. I mean, if you don't have the time and effort to make sure that your dog is going to be operationally sound all the time, then you probably shouldn't have a dog.
So we're not passing out T-shirts.
No,
style.
no.
I like the fact that your dog is a direct representation of you as a handler. Like that's 100%, fact, and you can see it and you can measure it.
Because mine just climbed out of my lap.
No. You can see it and you can measure it. And
she has zero obedience, but if something goes boom, she'll find it before I get there.
That's all that matters, really. So.
In this situation,
yes.
Absolutely. So, but go talk a little bit more about that, like how you applied what you learned in college football to prepare, like getting a dog ready and things like that. And I think one of the biggest things is how brutally honest you have to be with yourself. Like that was really a poor performance on my part.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the same thing in like any performance driven, thing that you do. Like I've, had the opportunity to perform in a lot of different sports and athletics and stuff like that. And K-9 is just like that. Like you're training like it's you as a handler, but it's also your dog, and that dog is a direct reflection of the time and effort that you put into them.
Absolutely.
And so, obviously you want to pick a good dog, but at the end of the day, that how good that dog is and how operationally sound he is, like Reggie was saying, is up to you and up to the work that you're willing to put in each and every day. And that's the cool thing about these dogs. That's one of the things I love about K-9 is like you're with that dog all the time. The dog lives with you. He rides with you at work 12 hours a shift, or
sits in your lap while
sits in your lap while you're doing podcasts sometimes. Mine wouldn't sit in my lap while I was doing a podcast, but he'd be over here looking for something, tearing something up over there. But yeah, and so like that, that bond I guess you have with your dog, where he's with you all the time. He's your constant partner. You're constantly training, trying to make him better, and putting that work in. And like Reggie said, if you're not a person that's willing to do that, then I mean, you can be a handler, but you're not going to be a very good one, and your dog's not going to be very good.
And you're doing a disservice to the dog.
Yeah,
as well.
You really are. Yeah, doing a disservice to the dog and a disservice to the people that those dogs are supposed to be helping. So
the cool thing for us is when all this stuff drops, the cool thing is we're going to be able to show everybody the Buck prance.
Yes,
got video of that.
He does have a prance.
He does. He's
very nice prance.
So along those lines, let's talk about, I think we adopted kind of a slogan for ourselves as K-9 handlers and as individuals, and that is like, we push to failure. So we're going to push that dog absolutely as far. I feel like I see handlers all the time that they have a dog and they're like, we're going to kind of have a treaty, I'm not going to make you do too much.
Mhm.
And that way you won't bite me. You won't cause me problems. But that dog's never really challenged.
Mm-mm.
So what does it mean to push to failure and then train past?
Yeah, you see that a lot, I think, especially in K-9, and I've got to see a lot of different handlers and a lot of dogs that people will kind of hide their dogs, hide their flaws. They won't do things that they know their dog's not good at, or they'll, whatever. And it's widespread, like, for the most part. And so, I guess one thing I learned, working with you two fine gentlemen, and also like from my previous experiences with, performance stuff, is like you have to push those failure points. Like, so if I find out my dog is not good at something, guess what we're going to do every day, multiple times a day, all the time, until my dog is good at that.
Right.
Because that is pushing to your failure point. Like, that the famous line, like you're not going to rise to the occasion, you're going to fall to your lowest level of training.
Exactly.
And so that is a 100% accurate in life and 100% accurate in canine handling. And so if you don't ever push your dog and make him do things that you're probably uncomfortable as a handler, because nobody likes looking like a wet bag of hammers.
Yeah. That's a good one. I've seen some of your t-shirts. That might be even more appropriate.
That might be a better one. Yep.
Yeah.
So, no one likes looking like that. No one wants to go out there and get embarrassed because their dog's not doing something. But that's what training's for. That's why we're out there. That's literally why we're out there doing stuff, because when, my number gets called or my dog's number gets called and we're expected to perform on an operational level and, potentially save lives or get criminals off the street, then you better, you're going to know my dog's ready, because that's my responsibility.
So that goes right with the story. I love the story because I was in it. But anyway, besides that, what I really like, talk about the time that we gave you the Mission Impossible. I want you to sneak up underneath the trailer and extract somebody when they come out.
So we're on a
ton of method.
Yeah, we're on a joint TAC vice operation. K-9. So we deploy. They're like, we're going to deploy in the woods. So we hiked in from the back. We hiked like 2 or 3 miles
you
in.
Had a couple of snipers from adjoining jurisdiction.
Had a couple snipers from adjoining jurisdiction attached, or I was attached to them, or they were attached. We were attached together. We made a little team. And so obviously we were going to observe, and then we were going to be the takedown team once this guy exited the trailer, because there was a bunch of meth in there. And when I say trailer, this thing was like a tin can. It had holes all in it. This was probably a camper from 1968. And it looked like it
had, the wheels were rotten.
It had been out in the weather since 1968. But anyway, so we hiked 2 or 3 miles through the woods, and kind of the same thing Reggie was talking about there. Like, the team I was with, they're like, your dog's going to be quiet. Like he's going to be able to sit in the woods, and like, we're going to be able to wait. So obviously we have no idea when this guy's coming home, when we're going to be able to get him, all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, yeah, he'll be good. We work on this. So we're camoed up. We're hiking through the woods. We hike up to the wood line behind this trailer, and there is like garbage everywhere back there. And so we have to get into a position, like, obviously I can't take this dude down from, 25 yards out, 30 yards out, because I'm not in a position to get hands on him or ensure the safety of everybody around there. And so I'm like, well, we got to get closer. We got to get closer to that trailer. And so I'm like, if we go through this trash, though, it's going to make a lot of noise. Like, there was like aluminum cans scattered about. I was like, this is like a noisemaker.
So the meth head's security system.
Yeah, the meth head security system.
I drink meth and throw cans in the yard.
Missed a few trips to the dump.
You will not sneak up on me.
You will not. You'll not. Tripwires everywhere.
Yeah. Beer cans.
Yeah, beer cans. So I was like, we got to get closer to this trailer. And so I'm like sitting there thinking, I got my dog in the harness. And so I'm like, I'm just going to pick him up and I'm going to sneak through the cans and just carry him by his harness so that we don't make noise. And so I pick my dog up, and the dudes are like,
how heavy is this dog?
He's about 85 pounds.
Yeah.
And so
you curled a 85-pound dog.
Yeah. Had my rifle in one hand and my dog in the other. Okay. And so I'm tiptoeing through these cans. It's probably, I wish I had it on video because it's probably hilarious looking. Tiptoeing through these.
We had I think we
did have a drone up in there.
Yeah, we had a drone.
Yeah. And so I'm tiptoeing through these cans with my dog, and I just like hear the dudes in the back just kind of snickering a little bit, the sniper team snickering a little bit. And so like we ended up getting up underneath this trailer, and I down him literally underneath the trailer, because there's no cover anywhere, no cover or concealment anywhere else. It's just this trailer sitting out surrounded by cans. And so so I'm literally like, all right, well, this is the only spot. When he comes out of this door, like we're gonna have to get underneath this trailer. So I run up to the front of the trailer, set my dog down, I squeeze my big old tail underneath the little 1968 camper, and we're sitting there waiting on this guy to step out the door. And as soon as he steps out the door, we pop out and end up getting him. But it was just a funny.
Was he surprised to see you?
He was very surprised to see me, actually. Yes. Yeah.
Those damn cans didn't work.
I know. He's like, man, I've never had anybody sneak through the cans.
I reset the alarm? So, yeah, I do think that people take for granted that these dogs are just like automatic. I told a supervisor I had one time, I was like, well, until we figure out how to install that on-off switch in their ass to flip on and off, we have to train. Because if we don't train, they're not going to be good.
Yep.
And so one of the proudest moments for me with y'all, honestly, was the time we were at that seminar and all the other kids were at the playground looking good, doing their little things. And where were we at? We were getting humbled by, what was that decoy? Remember the decoy that we went over to? So talk about that real quick. Like the school that we went to, that seminar we went to, where everybody else had all the things where they would just send their dogs on an operation. It wasn't easy, but you can't really make that much of a mistake. You send somebody running, a dog's going to go bite them. So what did we end up doing? We went to the line that nobody was at, the ride nobody wanted to be on.
Yep.
The hardest ride.
The hardest ride.
The hardest ride.
Yeah. Talk about the hardest ride.
So we went to a seminar. The Humbler.
It was the Humbler, yeah.
Went to a seminar put on by K-9 Law and Order, Throwaway Dogs. And it literally is a free to the agency seminar that's paid for by sponsors. So it didn't cost us any money. I think we had to pay for a cabin to stay in, but other than that, it was a priceless training, literally for free, for us to go to. So they had it's about 60 some dog teams, 70 some dog teams there from all over, and they set up. They've got this big, it's like a Wild Wild West kind of type feeling. Frontier Town is what it's called. Yep. So they've got a whole bunch of scenarios set up in there. They've probably got 13, 14 decoys in there. And it literally is just like,
it's like a playground for dogs.
Playground for dogs. You go from one
scenario.
Right. You go from one scenario to another. But then up at the top of the hill, Frontier Town, NC K-9 had their bite table set up, and you literally go up there and you strap your dog to the table, and let the decoy work, and he gives you his honest opinion about your dog.
Probably one of the best decoys out there too.
Yeah. Definitely, he gives you an honest opinion, whether it hurts your feelings or not. He's going to give you an honest opinion about what your dog can do, cannot do, where you need to improve and do better. So, like we talked about before, it's a lot of times people want to hide behind, hide their dogs and their abilities because they don't want to be humbled. But the thing that we always did as a unit was we always put ourselves in situations when it came to training to humble us, whether it was we went outside to a seminar, whether we trained ourselves, we always gave our honest opinion about our dogs. And when we got an honest opinion, it was an issue that needed to be corrected. We worked until we corrected it. And a lot of people don't want, it's not what they want. They want to be told that, hey, that was a good job. You have a great dog, put them up. But me personally, I want you to tell me where my dog sucks at so I can make him better. I mean, that's how it's always been, and that's how it is to this day. Mm-hmm. I put my dog on a table, and you tell me what I'm doing wrong and how I can fix it.
Yeah.
And we're going to train until it's fixed.
So what did you think about that? I mean, how long had you had Odin at that point when we went?
It was less than a year, I think, when I'd first.
So your bond, I mean, you did have a really strong. I mean, you still have a strong bond. Mm-hmm. We won't talk about the long day that we had.
Yeah,
that's still my record on steps looking for your dog, but that's a story for another day.
Different day.
It might require some bourbon to get through it. So anyway, just talk about like what you thought as a new handler, being part of the team that we had.
Yep.
And coming in there and being like, oh, he's not going to let us ride the cool ride. And the thing is it wasn't me asking you to do it. I think I was like, hey, let's try this. And I think once we evaluated our dogs, we're like, this is where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that guy from NCK9, what's his name?
Jim O'Brien.
Yeah, Jim O'Brien from NCK9.
Shout out to Jim O'Brien.
Shout out. One of the best.
He really is.
No, he really is.
Don't take your feelings with you. You might want to leave those at home.
Because he will hurt them.
He will hurt them. If you have feelings, yes.
He hurt mine, and I don't have any, and he wasn't even talking to me. So it was real.
Yeah. So we were like, hey, there's nobody at this table. Like, I know this guy's legit. Like, let's go. Like, I'm still a new handler at this point. Still learning my dog, still learning, canine handling in general. And so I was like, let's, absolutely, let's go try this. So we go and try it. And he's like, hey, this, and this. Like, I was like, absolutely. Like, that's how I get better. Like, I don't need a yes man telling me, oh, your dog's great. And like, just like Reggie said, all this stuff, like having a yes man just creates apathy. And so it's not, not what I want. And so I'm like, absolutely. Like, he's telling me this is wrong with my dog, and this is wrong with my dog, and this is wrong with my dog. And that is knowledge is power. And so, if I have the knowledge of like, these things are wrong with my dog, then that's things I can correct, and my dog's going to be better. Like, that's no, it's not an insult.
It's a direct,
you want people to tell you what's wrong with your dog. Like, it's not saying, oh, your dog sucks. Like, maybe your dog does suck. That's good. That means you can get better at something, and your dog's going to be better as a whole. And so, I want those failure points pointed out. And so we went and did that. And I was like, hey, I remember you saying like, we need to stay over here. And I'm like, we do absolutely need to stay over here, because we got a lot to learn and a lot to uncover here.
I think we're selling our dogs short. Realistically, we're not talking about like your average run of the mill. Tell us, do you remember all the stuff that he did to our dogs to get them to like let go? Threw milk crates at them, put them underwater. They'll probably report them to SPCA. No, seriously, like these dogs are made for this. But yeah, go ahead, talk about that.
It was just pretty much the whole point of the time we spent up there was, again, to find the failure point of the dog. And I remember putting Buck up there, and he literally reached under and scratched underneath the jaw of the dog.
We're talking about a hard biting, hard charging, not scared of anything, would jump on top of a car to bite you. And would he tickled?
He literally tickled underneath the jaw, or there was a part of the dog that he touched, and Buck literally spit the suit out. And
yours was the tail, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yours was the tail.
Yeah, touched his tail, and he's like, "Oh, I don't like that."
Wait a minute.
I'm like, good to know.
My temperature, or what are we?
Good to know.
What are we doing here?
So literally, he's like, "Well, go put your dog back in the car. Give him a break to think about, him spitting it out, and we'll come back and do it again." Sure enough, gave him a break, came back out, did it again. Buck didn't do it. So it was all about making the dog feel uncomfortable to the point where he no longer wants to engage said suspect, which is the man in the suit. There was, milk crates. There was a pool. He dunked, he put the dog in the water to see if water would bother him. He had a 2-gallon jug of water and poured it over the dog's head to see if that would get him off. So, I mean, it was just again, trying to push your dog to a point of failure. And, he gave us pointers how to correct it to make sure that, hey, this is not an issue that you run into on the street. Because if you run into it on the street, it might have a different outcome than here in training.
Yeah, I mean, it is really one of those old expressions is, more sweat on the training field, less blood on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And let's find our failures now. I mean, you used to have dogs that, like, I remember the first dog I have, old Hammer there. I'm pretty sure that an alien could come down and he would still bite it. But that was just, the vet told me he had a feral gene. He would do anything. And, but like, not all dogs are like that. Like, even with all the drive that they have, they still have something that they need to work through. And I feel like it's our job as handlers to put them in that, expose them to something that they might see, because we're failing them if we put them in a situation.
Yeah, it's our job to find that and push them past it.
So one of the things I really want to talk about is, while we're talking about pushing to failure, let's talk about the occupation that we've decided on as far as law enforcement. Like, what are we not pushing? What can we do in law enforcement to get better? Like, I feel like we think the general public wants us to do this. They want us to be soft. They want us to like make them feel good about themselves. But yet then they'll chastise us when that same person that made you feel good on a traffic stop stood outside and watched your kids get slaughtered inside of a school. They're connected. There's very few people that are going to go into that, just like these dogs, as far as exposure. Like, they aren't made like that. They're not made. There's very few people left in this profession, I feel like, and it's discouraged.
Mhm.
People that will go in there and take care of what needs to be taken care of. So let's talk
Yeah.
about our profession. I know I can retire any day, so I'm a little freer. Reggie has to be a little careful. Lew, let it rip. We're
I'll
on the
let it
private
rip.
side.
All right. So I think, like you said, I think the culture nowadays encourages that like soft, nice guy, like
Have a positive
have a
experience.
positive experience. Like, yeah, that's fine. Like, you should be able to do that. Like, you should be. I love the phrase, "You should be a savage gentleman." Like, you gotta have both. You gotta have the the ability to flip that switch, because, like you said, when it's encouraged, and that stuff is pushed, like, to have a positive experience. It goes back to the old saying, I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You don't want gardeners out there going to war for you, if because the job, you're not going to win that war.
No.
And when that war is, our kids and our safety of our public, then that's something important that's something we have to consider, most definitely, because yes, you're going to be, a community servant, and you're going to do all these things, but you got to have the right people, in those positions. And I feel like it's discouraged in today's law enforcement. Those people are pushed out.
The ones that play it safe.
The ones that play it safe and do things the way that is being encouraged nowadays, get to stick around. The ones who, your go-getters and your warriors, in the garden, I guess, so to say, really get pushed out, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to people. It's uncomfortable to administrations. It's uncomfortable to, a lot of different people, because, those people create, I think there's a sense of apathy in law enforcement as a whole, and those people shine a light on that. And so it's like a mirror to that apathy.
Right.
And so that, that mirror effect, I guess, pushes those people out. And then before long, I think if we continue in this direction, you're going to have, a lot of people in law enforcement that probably shouldn't be, that are not, don't have that warrior mindset and that warrior mentality. And, that stuff can't be trained, but if we're not training it, then, and by and large, we're not, we're not encouraging it. And so that is, you're going to have those situations where, we got a school shooter and we got everybody standing outside. Nobody's willing to go in because they're not prepared for that moment.
Yeah, they haven't been exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'll give your boss a shout out. I mean, former TAC guy, gone out, been there, done that. It's got the T-shirt. I think he's actually taken rounds before. Your boss, and so I think that's a really cool thing for you. But you also see the hiring process, Reggie, and you also see, like, as discreetly as you can talk about it, just in general. Let's talk about this. It's an easy way to talk about it. Talk about what you see in the academy with the newer recruits, and what you see, and what is most concerning you as a seasoned officer, as far as the state of our occupation. And it could be just the general public in general doesn't understand what we do. Come here, boo.
It's the standard.
Okay.
The standard that we are setting for individuals coming into this profession is below par, very below, like far. I mean, we're, and it's no, and I don't want to cast blame on anybody. I think there's a lot of things that we can't control.
Right.
Right. I think it's got a lot to do with the generation. I think it's got to do a lot with, the upbringing of the people, this generation that's coming in to law enforcement now, that you don't have, they're not making the hard charging, curb stomping goons, like, that come out and pound the pavement. And so I think that they are dealing with what they're being dealt. And because of that, I think the standard for what we look for in a law enforcement officer has gone down.
So you deal with the public more than both of us do at this point. What do you think the public's expectation of us at this point is? I mean, in all honesty, like, based on what you see. Now, I'm not talking about the loud group of people. I feel like, for me, I see a lot of people that are frustrated with government, big government, all these different things that go with it. And since we're wearing a uniform and representing government, we're lumped into it in their disappointment. But I think if we did a better job of explaining what we are there for, and that they might not like the way it looks, but it is part of who we are and the culture that we have created, which is we're here to protect you. And if you dial 911 and we have to come to your house, it's not because y'all figured it out. We're there because we're settling a dispute. The last time I watched an athletic event, the referee didn't ask somebody's opinion when they made a call on anything. And in the same way, I think, can we, like, what's your experience with the general public? Like, in very general terms, what is their expectation of us in law enforcement? Not what we're putting out there. What do you think they really want?
They want. I mean, I honestly just think the general public wants us to fix their problems.
Okay.
I mean, it really is. There are a lot of issues that we get called to assist with that aren't even law enforcement issues.
Give us one example of something that, like, I mean, not like in particular people, but just in general, like what kind of call for service you're like, hey, this isn't, we're not the best tool to use for this.
My husband took my car and won't bring it back. I mean, simple things like that, like simple, disputes that you think as an adult you'd be able to figure out yourself, which is, I guess, a big ask, right? For people to actually have an issue and say, hey, let me pony up and handle this myself.
Be a grown.
Yeah, be an adult.
Sorry.
I think that, a lot of these calls for service, that we get called for by the general public aren't your calls that require, us to necessarily save someone's life. We do get those calls, but I'd say the majority are,
routine.
My dog ate my homework and,
Fix this.
Can you fix it?
You think that's a mentality that's been sold to the general public about government, that is like, hey, the government's supposed to fix everything? I'm always amazed in taxes. Like, we pay all this taxes, we overpay, and then we're really happy that they gave us our own money back.
I don't know. I think a lot of it is just people are just literally like, I can't fix this problem, so the cops can fix it for me.
Yeah. People are generally helpless.
Just generally like, I don't know how to make my kid go to school, so I'm just going to call 911 and the cop's going to come over here and make my kid go to school.
Okay. So let's go back to like a training side. I've never been throat punched by a Mally like that, but thank you.
I have.
Talk about the time you got throat punched by a Mally. I think I sent that video to you the other day that was pretty funny. Where that dude
oh, the muzzle.
The muzzle
Oh
got hit him right in the throat.
Dude, that looked very painful.
Yeah, I don't know that he got up after that.
Yeah, he definitely had to take a break.
But no, like from my standpoint, what I look at as far as in law enforcement, is it that we're not educating the public about what our responsibilities are, or what can we do in this occupation? One of the reasons why I decided to do a podcast like this is I just feel like the general public doesn't know what we do, and there's not a voice out there saying, hey, this should be your expectation. Like, I really have the core of my being believes that what is going to happen in this, in law enforcement, and what we're doing is, you're going to have to decide. We can either go out there and interdict people before they go into your house and commit an act of violence, and that interdiction might involve violence, and it's probably going to be captured on a camera. It's either going to be captured on my body camera, or it'll be captured by somebody who's going to get one angle of it. And I think if we educate the general public and say, hey, this is a violent age that we live in, and let's go out and interdict them before they get to your home. I mean, what's like from y'all's standpoint?
I think from my experience in my career, it's what I don't think that we don't educate the general public very well as a profession as a whole on what we're actually there for. And then it's also what we allow. So, we allow, those in leadership allow our officers to get tied up on the simplest things, like going and solving, adolescent problems, essentially, that, because, and I understand we work, a lot of us worked or work for political figures and elected officials and things like that. And like, you want the general public to be happy, but like, what's going to make the general public happier? The fact that you came out there and dealt with their, little Johnny not going to school, or or that, like, I can't get my paperwork settled with my title for my vehicle, which is really not law enforcement related, but takes up a ton of our time.
Right.
Or, like you said, you want us going out there and actually interdicting criminals and taking care of crime problems, people, that are out there to steal, kill, and destroy, I guess, innocent people. And I think as a profession, if we educated the general public, and like, that's a great, I think, lesson for sheriffs, if sheriffs and your constituents, because that's small time government. Like, you get to interact with those people every day. Like, you can very easily sell, not sell, but like educate those people on, like, hey, like, we would love to come and help you, and we would love to, be there in 10 minutes to come and solve your civil issue. But, like, my officers are out here actually, fighting crime and trying to prevent crime. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I would rather than take a report, for a stolen car, I would rather go and catch that guy before he steals those cars, because a lot of those guys are out doing other criminal activities. And we can do that by being empowered to, do our job the way that we know we can do it, and that, without being, I guess, sidetracked to all these other things.
What's your thought, Reggie? I have no comment at this time.
No, I mean, I have comments. I think that educating the general public would be very beneficial as to what a law enforcement, what you're to expect out of a law enforcement officer, what a law enforcement issue really is, what the use of 911 is really for, and what we are doing out there that they don't see, because sometimes, you have people that think that we're out there and we don't do anything. So there are things that happen behind the scenes that they don't necessarily are privy to the information that we're, in order to do things to keep the community safer. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that educating the general public as to what we do as law enforcement would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe, and it irks me so much to see us respond in mass. I mean, we do such a great job of responding after something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a conversation about how we prevent these things from happening. If I stop a car with a gun in it, there's a chance that I might have to shoot that person or fight that person, but that's part of it, as opposed to, she's got other ideas, as opposed to, like, we're just going to let that car ride and let them determine where the next criminal activity
we're going to avoid that situation, because we
have almost like an avoidance mentality. I think about during COVID, all the crap that we had to go through. We were taking calls and standing in people's front yards talking to them, and dealing with their domestics and everything else. And I just think that if we, as law enforcement, did a better job of saying, like, look, this is what our job is. This violent encounter that you're sitting there with your hands over your face. And I don't think most people have their hands over their face going, like, I can't believe that happened. I feel like most of them are like, thank God it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I didn't get, I'm glad I didn't get beat. I'm glad I didn't get shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the general public, if we did a better job of educating them about, like, what our job is, keeping them from the, the calls that probably are not the best utilization of law enforcement, and just say, hey, I'm sorry. Like, this guy might have, like, a lot of other things on his plate, and he might hurt your feelings when he talks to you, but he's also going to be that person in there that rescues your kid, as opposed to hoping somebody else shows up, because they're not going in there.
I mean, I think anybody would tell you that in this profession that it has just literally become more reactive than proactive. Hands down.
There are so many people like you, the two of you, that know how to be proactive. And I mean, I think we talked about before, it's usually ice and some bourbon, discussions. But, like, I do think about when we talk about, like, some of the operations that we were being part of, and they were all proactive law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
That guy that you were talking about, where your dog was out in the, sitting out there for 6 hours, that was a guy that was buying guns. If you remember, it was a bunch of straw purchase guns that we had a concern that he was going to use them in a violent encounter. And so you interdicted them. His girlfriend, if you remember, his girlfriend was getting money and, like, was buying a ton of guns for him.
I didn't know.
She's like,
I had no idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. what I would like to wrap it up and just say, like, I do appreciate what y'all do. I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me, and I've been around for a while, for a minute. I've been around for a minute, but like y'all are
No cap.
No cap.
So I do think y'all are the future in law enforcement. I just hope that we find a way to communicate with the general public better, educate them, maybe find a dog that will sit still. I thought for sure she would sit still at some point, but like find ways to have conversations with people and prepare them for what they're going to see. Because I do think it's very safe to say that most people are not satisfied with law enforcement at all. And maybe we should have conversations on like, hey, this is what your expectation is. Well, you'll be satisfied, but there's going to be a few people that are going to be disappointed because it hurt their feelings.